Welcome to Clicks to Recovery, the podcast where we break down how digital marketing actually drives real admissions for addiction recovery centers. I'm your host, Tommy Anderson. And if you're running a treatment center, leading admissions, or responsible for filling beds with the right clients, not just more leads, you're in the right place. Because here's the reality. Clicks are really easy to buy, but quality patients, that's a different game entirely. On this show, we're diving into what's working right now with Google and Meta ads, how to attract high-intent prospects, and how to avoid the costly mistakes that flood your pipeline with the wrong people. We'll be talking strategy, sharing real data, and bringing in people from the front lines who are doing this every single day. So whether you're looking to scale, stabilize, or just stop wasting money on bad leads, this podcast is built for you. Let's get into it. Welcome. I'm here with Cory McEwan, our VP of Client Services here at Lever 11. Cory, thank you so much for joining us. You have more experience in digital marketing than any human being I've ever met. And not only are we lucky to have you at this company, I'm really lucky to have you as a guest on the show. So thanks for joining us.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Tommy.
Sure. Let's dive into it. Cory, why don't you just for our audience out there, give us a background on your experience in digital marketing and specifically in addiction recovery.
Yeah, so I graduated with a marketing degree, business management degree with marketing emphasis, and immediately went into digital marketing because I found a love for the analytical side of it and just how much change you could make within an individual campaign. And so I've been doing digital marketing since about 2007. So almost coming up on 20 years that I've been doing digital marketing, and I've worked for a lot of different generalist type of agencies. So agencies that focus on all kinds of different verticals, right? Ranging from e-commerce to lead gen and just everything in between. And so I've had an opportunity to work with several quite a few addiction recovery clients. And I've found that they have been some of the most rewarding clients to work on. There's a few reasons for that, right? Addiction recovery is you're truly helping people.
Yeah,
right? You're truly helping people. And when I'm trying to create a positive experience or a positive marketing campaign or drive leads or drive traffic or drive just people to a business or a service, I want to be able to feel good about what I'm doing. And what I found is when I'm working on addiction recovery, it's something that I get really bought off on. I get really excited about, because every single lead that I'm producing for this addiction recovery center is I'm changing someone's life.
What a great process. You've earned that over the years of doing so much of this. Yeah. And I know that you've been involved with companies that are like bottom dollar. I'm going to give you $1. How much are you going to return on that? And you've definitely perfected that. Well, we were never really perfected, but you've got so much experience. You've done such great work. And now you're like, look, I also want to combine that with I want the end product to be doing well for the world, right?
Yeah, something I believe in.
Yeah, something you believe in. That's so cool, man. So, like, in the first place, what brought you into addiction recovery centers and your experience in the past in doing this?
It was kind of just luck of the draw, right? Because I worked at generalist agencies, and so I had an opportunity to work for a pretty large addiction recovery center. And I was the main campaign strategist for it. I was coming up with all of the strategies and running the campaigns, creating all the material type of thing, right? And it was just so much fun. Like the individuals I was working with as well, like the people on the other side, the client, they're just so much fun to work with because they're so passionate about what they do as well.
Totally.
Right. Most people, I would say, most is the right answer. Most people that are working at addiction recovery centers have had experiences, whether it's themselves or a family member or a friend, have been through a traumatic addiction recovery event. And so they've decided to make that part of their life of either helping other people because they experienced it themselves or they've seen a loved one go through it.
Yeah.
And so they've made it their life mission to help other people, right? And so, working with those individuals is just a lot of fun as well.
It's amazing how powerful these campaigns can be too when you take the dollars and cents out of it and work together in the partnership as solutions, right? It kind of takes, it has this organic effect of making really powerful campaigns when you're looking at the end product and not just like the dollars going in, the dollars coming out. And it's like, hey, like we're both passionate about solutions and helping these people. And it's amazing how powerful these campaigns can get from that, right?
Absolutely.
I had heard a couple of things. I'm going to ask this question, but like, any thought on like volume? Like, how much volume have you managed in this space, Cory?
Ooh, that's a tough question to answer because number of clients I've managed is over the span of my 20 years. Now I'll back up a little bit. So my main role over the span of my digital marketing career has been on the operations side, working with individual account managers and strategists and coming up with internal processes to help the company in general improve, right? And so that means I've actually had my hands and fingers in like hundreds, thousands of different accounts. And so the number of actual addiction recovery centers I've worked on is, I don't even know if I could tell you what that number is. It's a lot.
And you've grown up with the space too, because a lot has changed over the last decade, right?
So I'm an old guy in the space. So I started off with like some of the original algorithm updates, and let's just put it into perspective. Facebook advertising, meta advertising wasn't a thing when I started doing it. So
that's so cool.
So yeah, I've seen it change a lot. So.
Okay, well, let's kind of leverage some of that experience for people outside the space. What makes marketing for addiction recovery fundamentally different from other industries?
A few things make it dramatically different. Actually, there's obviously some like medical HIPAA type stuff that's going on, and so you have to be very compliant. That's a big difference in and of itself. We can go down that path and we can go into detail. I don't know if that's worth our time.
We'll have other episodes where we can dive deep into specific things, but
I think one of the biggest things that makes addiction recovery unique is the fact that most of the clients, most of the people that we're searching for are friends of the actual person that needs help. It's actually a pretty low percentage of people that are reaching out they're reaching out because they feel like they need help themselves. That definitely happens, right? But typically it's when they've hit absolute rock bottom, and most of those people aren't willing to accept that they're at that rock bottom.
Interesting, as I think we see, especially in intent marketing and digital marketing, inbound marketing, it's typically the actual consumer.
It's the actual consumer, yeah. So what we're trying to target is the mother, the father, the friend, the uncle, the aunt, the loved one that cares deeply about this individual that they're seeing go down a path that might be too difficult for them to get out of. Right. So they are doing the research and they're putting in the time and effort to help this individual get their life back on track. That will 100%
change your keyword structure and your bidding structure in these campaigns, right? If you're focused on direct to consumer, the actual person's, the campaigns might struggle right at first until you learn that.
Definitely.
So I guess that leads me into like, what are some of the biggest mistakes you've seen over the years that treatment centers make in marketing?
Yeah. I think some of the biggest mistakes I see personally is going after just mass volume, right? Going after keywords and strategies that are just getting as many leads as possible. That's really not the strategy you do for this type of client. You want to focus on the individuals that are ready to make a change today, right? They've done the research, they know this person needs help, and now they're in a position where they're ready to make a move. They're ready to actually submit information because they're ready to help this person move forward.
I think what happens a lot is the client comes to the agency and says, I need more leads. And the agency or the ads manager, that's what they focus on to make the client happy. But really what they're really saying is, I want more admissions. I want I want more qualified leads is what they're actually saying. So we see ads managers in this space, they just inundate these centers with just tons of nonsense leads. that don't make a lot of sense for their business, and it burns out the team, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the addiction recovery centers don't have a endless bandwidth from their admissions office. They're trying to fill a very limited amount of seats. And so their time is super valuable. And a lot of these admissions people are wearing multiple hats anyways. And so flooding them with a bunch of leads just makes the entire process slower and more clunky.
I want to talk about the patient journey in this space and how it's different from traditional lead gen.
Yeah. Well, kind of what we just talked about, the patient themselves is typically not the person who needs the treatment, and obviously there are people, and I'll restate that again. That's not across the board. There are people that submit the information for themselves. That is absolutely something that happens as well. I have found that the ones that convert the best, the ones that have the highest chance of actual getting through the process, getting in the door, getting in to the center and actually getting help are the ones that it's the mother and father, the loved one that's submitting on behalf of that person. Typically, a lot of times those recovering or a lot of times those people who need help they don't understand or they don't see it or they're not willing to accept it.
True. So oftentimes it's their loved ones or family members that are actually the ones searching for them. So the journey here it really is unique and completely different from really any other space.
It is. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So when it comes to PPC, what actually separates campaigns that work from ones that fail, specifically in addiction recovery?
Yeah. Good data. Good data is the first thing that comes to mind. And we are the type of company that will lead by data. We let the data tell us what to do, which makes us pretty unique in a lot of spaces. The other thing is making sure that we have the customer journey is outlined really well. And so you have to have the right types of keywords. You have to have a good negative keyword strategy. You have to have good messaging. Your landing page has to absolutely speak to the individual to make sure when they hit that landing page, they know exactly why they're there. And they see exactly what type of services that you're trying to treat. And it's just a really simple process because again, like these people a lot of times they're not going through and submitting leads to hundreds of different places. They're going after the addiction recovery center that is actually going to help them get to their goals.
Yeah, and it's crazy when you look at when we've audited other campaigns, how generic the ads are and how non-targeted they are to the actual keyword or motivation for them showing up in the first place, right? You want to control that funnel all the way through. You want to present the right type of ad that's relevant to the motivation and the location. And then the landing page has to follow suit on that.
Yeah.
Right. It absolutely does. And I think a lot of managers miss the mark on that. Like the funnel has to be controlled all the way through. Ultimately, you're letting them know that, hey, we are the right fit and we do understand your pain and like we are the right type of company to help, or right type of center to help you out.
Yeah. And what's interesting about this specific industry as well is, people are definitely price conscious, but not as much in this industry. Right. They are.
Why do you think that is?
Because they want the journey to actually work. Right.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of addiction recovery centers out there, and they want to make sure that the money they're spending is actually going to get to the end goal, which is helping them get off whatever substance they're addicted to.
Cory, we talk about rock bottom all the time. And when you've hit rock bottom, a lot of those things don't matter anymore. All that matters is saving your life.
How do you dig out?
Yeah, exactly. That's such a great point.
Yep.
I kind of want to shift to compliance and restrictions and how that impacts strategy.
Yeah. So I mentioned HIPAA, right? There's a lot of just HIPAA compliance that you have to have, not only with the way you handle the leads, handle the data, handle the customers, but also on the website. You have to make sure that you're not making claims that are sketchy or untrue, right? And we understand all that, and we make sure that the website is built in a way that not only gives the user exactly what they're looking for, but it's done in a way that it's super compliant, and the addiction recovery center is not going to get in trouble, right?
And Lever 11 will help through all those processes, because I know with like LegitScript, for instance, that can be a 4 to 6 week process. And does Lever 11 help centers get through that whole process?
For sure. Yep.
Okay.
Making sure there's no false claims or sketchy messaging and things like that. Yep.
If you made it this far, you already know most centers aren't struggling with traffic. They're struggling with getting the right patients. If you want to see what that looks like for your center, click the link below and we'll walk you through exactly what's working right now. Okay, really cool. So let's say, a treatment center is interested in, hey, this sounds really interesting. Like, it makes a lot of sense for our center, and we want to get into Google Ads. What should treatment centers understand about Google Ads before they even spend $1?
So I think this is a general statement around just Google Ads as a platform.
Any industry, yeah.
Any industry.
It's not specific to addiction recovery.
Yeah. I mean, it also applies to addiction recovery, but the biggest thing is that not all clicks are good clicks, right? There is going to be a learning phase. There is going to be a period of time that you have to just kind of run some tests and figure some stuff out.
Sure.
Right. The thing that makes us different specifically, though, is we know this space. We're working in this space. We are dedicated to this space, right? And so if you go to like a generalist agency, the strategy has to be built from scratch. And so there's a lot more learning and a lot more buildup that happens.
They're going to have to learn on your dollars for some time, right? Depending on what your budget is, because budget and runway can always work inversely.
Yeah.
But most likely that ads manager is going to be learning and testing on your spend.
No doubt. Yep.
Yeah.
And so that's the same with every company. Ours is shorter.
Yeah.
Ours is a shorter period of time.
Yeah. And that's why we're lucky to have Cory. Cory is our learning phase, if you will.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
With all your experience. That's so cool. So I kind of do want to talk about intent and lead quality a little bit. How do we specifically think about intent when we build a campaign in addiction recovery?
Yeah, I think this is one of the most important pieces, actually. Intent has to be your driving force in any marketing campaign, especially a Google Ads campaign or a Meta campaign that is so expensive. You're putting so much money into it, right? Mm-hmm. And so one of the things is you have to have the right keyword strategy. Your keyword strategy has to be, specifically targeting things like rehabs near me instead of what is addiction type of thing, right? That's
true.
A very different change.
Informational versus transactional.
Yeah. And then, there's obviously different types of campaigns. You have your top of funnel and bottom of funnel and your middle of funnel. Mm-hmm. Top of funnel is typically not as effective in this space, just because there's not a lot of people that are doing research for months on end. It's usually they're doing some research because they're going to make a change within a relatively short period of time.
Sure. Yeah.
And so we put a lot of focus on making sure that middle of funnel and bottom of funnel is just absolutely tight and rock solid, to make sure that every single search, every single dollar that's spent has the highest intent possible. So when they hit that landing page, our chance of actually converting them is really high.
Cool. That makes a lot of sense. And we'll dive into in later episodes on how we use our collective, right? Like all of our experience to sort of set up so that the next client can benefit off those that came before.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's unique to what anybody else is doing in the space.
Totally. Yeah.
So like with filtering out bad or non-serious inquiries, do we have something that's built out around that? Like, talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we absolutely, it's important to make it a little bit harder to convert, right? Make the lead process a little bit more difficult. And that sounds almost like counterintuitive, to make it more difficult for someone to convert. But going back to one of our previous conversations, if you're flooding with a whole bunch of bad leads, then the whole process in general is just super clunky, and the center is actually going to struggle a little bit. And so if we make it a little bit harder to convert by making sure that every single conversion that comes in is the highest quality and it's actually someone that's ready to make a change, your chance of growth just grows exponentially, right?
Yeah.
And that all comes down to better questions, better landing pages, better content, better strategy.
And a better feedback loop, right? And we will definitely talk about that too, is the partnership that we have with our clients. We definitely don't want to just be, hey, we're your agency in the shadows, we're going to run things and hopefully it goes well. This is a partnership, and the only way we can actually optimize these campaigns is if we know exactly what's happening, right? Yeah. So the campaign can be on an upward trajectory as we know, hey, here's the leads that are working for your team, and here's the ones that aren't. Because there are ways, it's a little more complicated in addiction recovery, but there are really specific ways you can create this feedback loop and give proper signals to Google. And I think a lot of ads managers miss the mark on that.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, you think about it, Google is an algorithm-based system, right? And it works off of data. And so if you're plugging in a whole bunch of data and that data is all like top of funnel, poor leads, then Google doesn't know the difference between a good lead and a bad lead. And so as you're doing that, it's just going to continue to feed you the same leads that you're given it back.
Yeah, you're essentially high-fiving Google for everything, right? So if you get something that's just completely informational and top of funnel, or versus somebody who's like looking for help right now and is ready to admit that same day, you're essentially high-fiving Google if you're not using the right structure and saying both leads are worth the same. And there's a chance that top of funnel lead was much cheaper. So actually Google is going to get a proper signal on that cheaper lead or cheaper click, and it's going to go find you that over and over again. So there's no upward trajectory on the actual optimization of your campaign. We talk about this all the time in so many different industries, and how many times ads managers, people always say like, well, why don't they use offline conversions, or why aren't they pulling any data in that? Because it's difficult.
Yeah.
It is very difficult. It's a massive investment, and it requires a massive partnership and communication back and forth between the center and the ads manager. And it's really, really important to us. And it makes a lot of sense when you think about it objectively. These are smart campaigns. These are intelligent systems. There's a lot of data points behind every click that comes in. And if you can give specific values on those, you can send your campaign in the proper direction and keep it there.
Yeah, right? Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, giving Google 10 really good, high quality leads as opposed to 50 subpar or crappy leads, your campaign is going to perform way better.
Yeah.
Those signals are just going to get so honed in. And not only that, but you're going to understand what keywords are actually giving you the revenue at the end of the day.
Totally.
Right. So then you just put more money towards the things that are working.
You see me get passionate about this because it's so important, and the mark is missed on that so many times. But it's also, it takes a lot of experience and a lot of systems and a compliant team to really understand how to implement those conversions and feed back good signals or just any signals to Google, right? So it's really, really cool. And I get excited about it just because it works, right? Okay, I want to talk about, there's obviously some listening out there that have never run ads before. Like we can talk like everybody on here has ran like hundreds of thousands of dollars in ads, whatever. If a treatment center comes to us and like they've never spent $1 in PPC, or they haven't spent anything with us, right, in a campaign, walk me through what you would tell them the first 90 days would look like.
Yeah, so first and foremost, set the right foundation. Get the right foundation set. And what that means is you have the right tracking. Critical. I mean, tracking is so incredibly critical. You have the right messaging. You have, you make sure that nothing's broken. You have the right keywords in place. You have a good negative keyword strategy, right? You're targeting the right audiences, the right locations. And there's 100 other things, right? Foundational, you have to make sure.
And we have that onboarding team that's really great with like all the, like that is probably the toughest part for any digital marketing agency is the integrations and onboarding parts, because everybody's systems is so much different. So I'm glad you brought that up. Like the foundation has to be laid.
It has to be. Yeah. And then, going into the second month, really what you're trying to see is what patterns are starting to take shape. Whether that be like certain ad groups or certain campaigns are starting to get the right type of traffic, or maybe where certain locations, if it's a multi-location type of campaign, are getting more or less traffic than you want. There's a lot of signals there, but you're looking for what patterns are actually driving the results that we want. And then you start reacting to that, right? And when you react to that, that's when, month 3 and beyond, you start leaning into those patterns that are driving the most success. And so then it's just rinse and repeat.
Yeah.
Right? Rinse and repeat.
And that leads me perfectly to my next one. Like, how do you know when somebody's ready to scale, right? I know a lot of centers, they see it start working. They're having the right types of conversations and the right conversions coming in. And now they say, well, this is working for us. I want to scale. What does that look like? Like, what does scaling one of these centers look like?
Scaling means that you understand the patterns, you're reacting well to the patterns, you see things that are looking promising, and you're starting to push on the areas that are actually giving us the results that we want. And as you start to push, you start to increase your spend and your budgets. You're going to start to see that whether that is truly the right strategy or not, right? Now, 90 days in, you may or may not have the right strategy. You might need to completely reshape your landing page or rewrite your ads, or you might be bringing in some crappy traffic through your keyword strategy. But the whole goal is that you're starting to see those patterns and you're really leaning in and starting to push the budget to see how much it can actually grow before you hit that diminishing return.
Yeah. And it kind of points back to like how we like to look at things that happen deeper in your funnel, not just top of funnel. Because if you're always looking at top of funnel, you never really know when to scale because you're not tracking things as they're happening.
Totally true.
Right.
Yep.
Okay, cool. How should owners think about ROI in the space? I know that's sensitive, right? Your return on investment, but ultimately, if you're going to help people, like you have to have a return on your investment. Like there has to be money coming in. There has to be some sort of level of profitability. So this is an important metric that we need to discuss is, how should owners think about ROI?
Yeah, it's different for every center. Every center is going to be a little bit different because some are inpatient, some are outpatient, some have both, right? And so that ROI is going to differ based on how much how much cost you have in the organization, right? And so I hate to answer this with it depends, but it kind of does a little bit. Obviously, what we focus on is specifically the client's goal, right? If the client has a goal of a 3x return, then we're going to try to get 3x or higher at a minimum, right? And
you can actually reverse engineer a lot of those metrics to get there, right? That's why an important part is that we really need to know is what does the cost per admission need to be? What does the return on ad spend need to look like?
Yeah, and really what we focus on for addiction recovery centers is we want to make sure that their rooms are filled, because there's a capacity amount that actually makes sense for the center to be at any point to create a profitable situation, right? So for example, let's say a specific addiction recovery center has profitability at 70% capacity, right? That means that we have to make sure that we're sitting at 70% capacity at all times or higher, right? And sometimes we'll get to a point where we're at 95, 98% capacity, and that means that we need to cut budgets down so we're not wasting money and turning clients away. Because at the end of the day, that's going to create a negative profitability situation if we're spending money and they can't even fill the seats, right? And so we work really directly with the client, the center themselves, to make sure that we're spending the appropriate amount to keep their profitability at a good level.
It's so cool. And I think we'll eventually start talking about maybe the least talked about thing is funnel analysis. Like you put money into this campaign and it spits money out the bottom, and you can take the ratio between those two things and there's some sort of return, right? But there's all these different things that happen on the way to that. And I think that leads me into like, this is how we pull levers. So my question is like, what are the biggest levers to pull when a campaign isn't performing?
When it's not performing? That's a loaded question, really. That's a loaded question because you can have a really high click-through rate and a low conversion rate, right? And on the surface, you can see that click-through rate and be like, oh, well, I have a really high-performing ad, right? But then you look at the lead rate and it's not where you want it to be. And so that tells me that you're either bringing in the wrong traffic or your landing page is just not speaking to the client well. And so there's a whole bunch of levers to play with there. It's all dependent on the end dollar though.
Yeah.
Like it all comes down to the revenue. What we're trying to do is make sure that you have a positive return on investment every single month, and that you're at capacity or higher for your profitability metric.
Yeah, it's a great answer. Love that, Cory. You have a ton of experience. What lessons have you learned over the years that translate directly into addiction recovery? I guess what I ask is like, how can our clients leverage your experience to get all those years of learning from day one, starting with us?
Oh man, this might sound corny, but the reason why I've been a successful marketer is because I truly care. Mm-hmm. And especially when I'm working with clients that I know are changing people's lives and like having an impact on the world. That's what drives me. That's what makes me want to push harder and things like that. So it's kind of a corny answer, but I think a true marketing manager, a good PPC person, a good Facebook marketer, you just have to find people that truly care.
I couldn't agree more. And like, we've worked in other industries like real estate, for instance, right? And like I get often asked by real estate investors or agents or whatever, and they'll say, "Hey, what's the difference between like your best client? Like, what do your best clients do?" And I say it's simple. They're not looking at it as dollar and cents, like how much money can I make off this lead? They're always looking at it as a solution, right? Like I want to create a solution for this person. And it goes back to what we said in the very beginning. It's the way we look at it as an agency too, is we like to look at solutions and how we're going to make the world better through the campaigns that we're doing. And the byproduct typically ends up being what you really need is a return on investment.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right. Getting your marketing right in this space, what sort of opportunities does that open?
Oh yeah. The opportunity that opens is more growth. Right.
Yeah.
So obviously there's a limited amount of capacity in every single center for the most part. Right. Mm-hmm. But maybe that means when you're at capacity and you're hitting that capacity number and you're really profitable, you can open up another center. Mm-hmm. Right. That's ultimately like what we're trying to do is help your business grow to a point where not only are you helping a whole bunch more people and you're changing the lives of so many more people, but you are able to actually grow your revenue and grow your business and create a good life for yourself as well as the owner.
And I absolutely love that. And I've also talked to a lot of centers that say, hey, I just need more capacity. I don't want to grow. I have no interest in growing to 8 other centers with 800 beds, right?
Yeah.
So the opportunity there is, hey, you can create a repeatable and predictable business model through this.
Yeah.
Right. And that to me also is beyond the growth one, which is always going to be the obvious one, is you can grow and expand and increase revenue and help more people. There's the other side of it that like the biggest opportunity if you get your marketing right is you have a comfortable business.
Yep.
And now, as opposed to having to focus on marketing and getting more admissions, you can actually focus on the product. And the product is helping people.
Yep.
Right.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah. Great. Cory, you've been so gracious with your time. I know you're a busy guy, so thank you so much for sitting down. Let's wrap up here. If you could give one piece of advice to a treatment center looking to grow, what would it be?
I would say choose an agency that is truly going to be a partner with you. Right? Choose an agency that is dedicated to filling your seats, filling your beds. Choose an agency that's actually going to put the time and effort into having a campaign that is flushed out, foundationally correct, and just help you run a really good business. The most refreshing part, not sounding salesy or anything like this, but the most refreshing part about working here is the communication. You send an email, you're going to get one back. You send a text, you're going to get one back. And we actually thrive on that, right? Like we love the communication back and forth from our partners. We really do, because we know ultimately that's what leads to success.
we love the seven habits of highly effective people. We always talk about those things, right? It's communication and synergy and how that leads to such great things. Cory, thank you so much for your time today. And we'll catch everybody in the next episode.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks.
All right. Thanks for watching the Clicks to Recovery podcast. If something you heard today makes you question your current marketing, don't ignore that. Click the link below and we'll run a full marketing audit, free of cost. We'll show you exactly where your leads are breaking down, where you're wasting spend, and what to fix to start bringing in the right patients.